Hi, I'm Reverend Wendy Craig-Purcell here at the Unity Center in San Diego. Thank you so much for watching today. If you'd like to support the work that we do here, please consider making a contribution. Go to our website. It's easy to do. Thank you in advance for that contribution.
I am so blessed and so grateful for the music, and I'm grateful for all of you to show up and share your Labor Day weekend with us. And I'm grateful to Reverend Wendy for inviting me to speak today on a subject that's pretty near and dear to my heart, because it's something sometimes when life throws us a challenge that we forget. We forget that we can trust. We can trust in something greater than we are. And so I'm really grateful. Some of the ideas from this book came from an author you might know, and I apologize in advance for probably mispronouncing her name, is Iolanda Van Sant. And she has written many books, and I've heard her speak before at a convention. But one summer, I was having a particularly difficult, challenging summer. And I was in a bookstore, and this book literally jumped off the shelf into my lap. Now, some of you may have had that happen to you. It's just like it says, "Take me home. I'm what you need." Well, the book was called In the Meantime. And what it was about cleaning house, cleaning your inner house of false beliefs. Because that's how we run life many times, is our belief system. And some of our beliefs are very good, they're very true. And some of them need to be cleaned out. And so I used that book, and it was like a workshop. I read it every morning. And it starts in the basement, about cleaning out the basement. Now, some of you who have basements, and not many people do in California, but if you lived in the Midwest, you'd have a basement. And you put a lot of stuff there. The other place you put is in the attic. And so what the story was, to work through your false beliefs, those that are cluttering up your basement and those which you have stored in the attic because you're sure you're going to need them someday. But today we're really talking about this book that she wrote called Trust, Mastering the Four Essential Trust. It's a trust in yourself, trust in others, trust in God, and trust in life. And I want to ask you the question, do you believe you trust in life? So think a moment and think within. And how many of you trust life completely, without a doubt? And all the time? How about some of the time? I know for me, it's some of the time. Now, I would like to tell you, as a New Thought minister, that I am all the time online, but that's not true. I'm walking a journey the same way you're walking a journey of faith and discovery. And so what I know is there's this time when life is throwing me a challenge. It's not exactly what I want right then. It's not. And I have to question. And that's when I get to practice my faith. And that's when I get to remember to trust in life, trust in God, and trust in myself. And I can go within and do that. So what I know is sometimes what I see coming at me is not what I want, but it's what I need. And some of you may have experienced that before too, is you see something that's coming up in your life and you said, no, that's not what I want. And you want to push it away. But a year or two later, you will find that that's exactly what you needed at that time in your life. It came up. So one of my favorite sayings, it's not what happens to you in life, it's how you respond or react to what happens in life. Well, one day, a farmer's donkey fell into an old well. Now, the donkey had labored in the field with a farmer for years, but both of them were getting a little bit old. And the donkey, when he fell into the well, he cried pitifully for a long time. And the farmer heard him, and he went and he looked him down into the well, and he thought, I don't know how I'm going to get this donkey out. It's an old well. It's an old donkey. I am going to invite my neighbors to come over, and we're going to just fill in the well, and we'll bury the donkey. Well, what happened is neighbors started shoveling the dirt into the well. And at first, the donkey really objected and cried out, what is happening? Of course, that was in hee-haw talk, not donkey. And what happened is, as the dirt kept thrown in, pretty soon the donkey got quiet. And the farmer wondered, what happened? And he looked over into the well. And what was happening is, as the dirt fell onto the donkey's back, the donkey would shake it off and step up. So as the neighbors continued to pile on the dirt down into the well, the donkey kept shaking his back and stepping up, and eventually stepped up and out of the well and trotted off. So we could learn something from this donkey. Life is going to shovel dirt on you, and all kinds of dirt. And the trick is getting out of the well is to shake it off and step up. So each of our troubles is a stepping stone. We can get out of the deepest wells just by not stopping, not giving up, but shaking it off and stepping up and keep going forward. Don Miguel Ruiz wrote a book. Many of you probably know it, The Four Agreements. You probably know them as well as I do. But he had a quote in this book that I really like. Death is not the biggest fear we have. Our biggest fear is taking the risk to be alive. The risk to be alive and express what we really are. We have learned to live our life trying to satisfy other people's demands. We have learned to live by other people's points of view because of the fear of not being accepted and of not being good enough for someone else. You might know and remember the four agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. The reason why he talked about be impeccable with your word is your word is the power you have to create. Your word is a gift that comes from God. Through the word, you express your creative power. It's what you manifest in your life. And the second one was don't take anything personally, is nothing others do is because of you. To me, this is one of the harder things, especially for us who really think that what others think of us is some of our business. It's none of our business what other people think of us. It's only yours. But if somebody calls you stupid, it's just their attitude. The problem is if you believe it. If you believe it, you own it. And the deal is, the second agreement here is to get rid of it. Let it go. Know your own truth. The third one is don't make assumptions. We have the tendency to make assumptions about everything. The problem with making assumptions is that we believe they are the truth. And with this one agreement, you can transform your life. Now, for those of you who are skeptical that you don't make assumptions, just think about all the assumptions you've made the last 2 years. How many of them have really come true? We think that it is the truth because we base it on our past history, but it's our past history. The new moment hasn't been created yet. And then the fourth agreement is always do your best. Why is that important? That's because when you do your best, you get rid of your self-judgment. You get rid of the critical voice. You don't have any regrets because you did the best you could under the circumstances at the time. So cut yourself some slack. Ease it up and follow your intuition. Your intuition is the voice of God. Listen to it. So I hope today to remind you of how powerful you really are and to support your human consciousness from any victimization and the recognition that you are one with the source of God. You are one with this. And when you know that you're all powerful. You know that there's no weakness except the weakness in your own mind. And you take that power and that connectivity, and you know that you create the life you desire. She wrote in this book, in Trust, she said, in life we eventually learn that there's nothing wrong with making a mistake. Although we have to admit that some things we have done are the wrong thing to do. Making mistakes can become great learning opportunities. And what I want to remind you is Edison made 4,000 of them before he was successful with the light bulb. But he was willing to keep going and go forward. So our negative ego gets in our way. Everybody has an ego. But our negative ego is that part of us that sees fear instead of love in response to circumstances. It's difficult or challenging experiences come up, and the negative ego feels our survival is threatened. And what your job is to release that negative ego. Say, thank you very much, but I've got it handled. I'll take it from here. Love is the way. We have to remember that trusting in grace is a process. It's like when we work on it, some of us go to the gym, me not so much, but some of you probably. But when we do, we're working muscles, right? We work on muscles to give us a better life, to keep a life that sustains us. The same is true of our spiritual muscle. You have to work your spiritual muscle. Don't let it get flabby, because it will when you don't keep working it. So part of the spiritual muscle that you're working is trusting in life, knowing that life is on your side. There is really nothing against you. Do you believe that? There is nothing, no one against you. It's all up to you to have the positive attitude. So she wrote in here, trusting in life is like, she wrote in her introduction, how does a newborn baby know that when it sucks on a nipple, something good will come out? It doesn't know. What it does is trust. And once it's trust and it found out it's good, it does it again. Reverend Michael Beckwith, some of you know Michael, he has one of the largest New Thought churches in Los Angeles. He had a good explanation of how we deal with challenges in our life and when life is throwing them up. And what he talked about was the chicken and the egg. And what it is he explained that for as long as it's useful, the egg with its hard shell was a safe place for the chick. However, as the chick grew, the egg no longer provided the chick with the space it needed to continue to develop properly. In addition, it started to live in the filth that it was creating because it was contained by the shell. And so what the chick eventually figures out is it's got to peck out of its shell. It's got to break that hard shell and break itself free to survive and to expand. We are humans. We can learn the same thing from the chick. We get comfortable in our own shell. We like to do the same things. Many of you sit in the same chairs every Sunday. You do the same things. And what we have to do when we want to expand is we have to break out of our shell and move on. We have to break open and go. She reminds us that change can be scary. We usually say something courageous like, I like change. But have you noticed that when change occurs, you're not so comfortable with it? Things have moved. Things aren't the way you want. Does anybody else feel that? Do you all love change? So it's a process. And one of the more difficult challenges we face is learning to trust the process of life and living, is to think we know we are supposed to do or be, or more often than not, we rely on information we receive from others. We think we should know everything. And we beat ourselves up when we don't think we know. But it's a good time to remind ourselves that we really do know. And when we go within, we can look within and tap into that inner resource, into that intuition, into that voice of the divine within us when we connect. When we go into meditation, we do that. We go into that quiet space and then connect into the heart center. And when you rely on that rather than relying on other people out to give you their opinion on what to do, you can make the best decision. Now, some of you don't believe this, but you always get what you expect. It's the law of attraction. If you've been coming in this center or any New Thought Center for a while, you know that your thoughts attract the things you like into your life. It's just the way it is. Ernest Holmes wrote, "Change your thinking, change your life." It sounds trite, but it's true. Asking It Is Given is by Esther and Jerry Hicks. It's a book many of you probably know, but it's about the law of attraction. It's about the fact that our thoughts manifest into our life what we get. But what gets in our way of realization is the underlying beliefs about our chance of achieving our intentions. I know this is true when we have people who have dreams. They have dreams that are outrageous. If you've ever been to a dream session or a book about intentions for the new year and you want to write all of them down, they encourage you to think outside the box. Thinking outside of the box is great because it develops your creativity. What does the damage is your inner voice saying, nah, it's not going to happen. It won't be. You got this against you, you got that against you. It won't happen. So what you have to do is get rid of that editor, because that inner voice that is ridicule you about the dream will keep you from realizing it, because what will show up is what your belief is. And if your belief is you do not deserve it or it's impossible, the impossibility will not show up. So Wayne Dwyer wrote about the power of intention. Another concern for the concept of the law of attraction is called the power of intention. And what he says is, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. He says that most people mistake in trying to apply the attraction is they want things, they demand things, but God doesn't work that way. It's all about allowing, the process of allowing, just being and embracing this heightened level of consciousness goes back not to attracting what you want, but attracting to who you are. So sometime working our way from our disbelief to firm conviction takes inner work on ourselves. I was in a study group earlier this year when we were studying the works of Jeff Foster, who wrote a course, and sounds true, called Acceptance. And what he said in there is that we are one in the ocean of God, and all that happens to us is just like a wave washing over us and through us. And when we accept the waves without judgment, the highs and lows, we are in the present moment. The challenge is when we believe in duality, when we think that we are separate from the perfection of God, it's impossible to believe that God is all there is and hold that duality. If you truly in your hearts believe that God is all there is and you are one with God, then there is no room for duality. So when it's showing up in your life, I ask you to question that. Where is my belief about duality? She writes in the book about the essential elements required to develop and deepen your ability to trust. The first point she has is understanding. You must understand the nature of the person or thing you are putting your trust in. Whether it's yourself, God, someone, or something, you must comprehend the essence of how the person or thing works. What you can expect is based on what you know and what is possible. The second point is intuition, which I've talked about already, but it's each of us has that spark of divinity within us. We have to understand it. We have to acknowledge it. We have to be grateful that it's there. This is our connection to the ever-present, all-knowing, intelligent in life. The third point is vulnerability. Sometimes as a male, without being sexism, men have trouble about vulnerability or admitting it. They see it as a sign of weakness. The nice thing about moving into this current environment is we have more men more willing to say, yes, I am vulnerable. And unless you're willing to be vulnerable, to make mistakes, to face difficulties with confidence and putting one foot in front of the other, while trusting that you're moving in alignment with the divine, you're going to have challenges and struggles. The fourth point is willingness. Trust requires a willingness to admit that you do not know and stand firm in what you do know. Now, I want to give you a couple points to start wrapping this up. She had some, I think, trust lessons from Noah's Ark. Don't miss the boat. Plan ahead. It wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. Don't listen to critics. Just get on with the job that needs to be done. Speed isn't always an advantage. The snails were on board with the cheetahs. When you're stressed, float a while. Remember, the ark was built by amateurs. The Titanic was built by professionals. No matter how bad the storm is, when you are with God, there's always a rainbow waiting. You just believe it. That song earlier about raining, you can see the rainbow at the end of the rain. It's there. It's refreshing. That's that connection to that something greater than we are. So let me close with some helpful points, trust points in her book. She said, trust the process. Placing your faith in the unknown with no guarantee of the outcome is at the heart of the trusting process of living life. The other thing is, trust yourself. Trust you are worthy of your own time, energy, attention, and love. Trust in God, because God is the source of everything you need and deserve and desire. Trust in God is a sure way you will rise above your humanness and limitations into your authentic identity. Trust in others. Trust in others because it's the only way to fine-tune your instincts, deepen your ability to trust yourself, and learn the depth of your capacity to love and forgive. And then trust in life. Trust the process of life because it's an incredible journey of wonder. Adventure and evolution you can experience only in direct proportion to your willingness to trust it. So I ask you, ultimately, trust is a choice. You either choose to go for what you want or you don't. Every act of choice is an act of trust. Namaste.